Okay, today we are talking contracts and cash, a super relevant episode for anyone entering the industry or working and wanting to progress. Welcome to episode 2.
I'm Lizzie Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackey, Australian speech pathologist.
And this is the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast.
Hello. It's good to be back. All right.
Hi, everyone.
Cash.
Yeah, contracts and cash. This is a big episode, but I feel is something that's not spoken about a lot, which is money, because we're health professionals.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are we so scared of cash?
Exactly. That's what we want to address straight away, straight out of the gate. Don't be afraid to talk about money. Don't be afraid to talk about cash, or same thing. Don't be afraid to ask for people's advice. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. Let's just open the conversation. Guys, if you want to talk to us about contracts and cash, DM us on Instagram because we're happy to talk about it. I think
in a general way, because
we can't give advice. No advice. This is
no. We're not financial advisors, but if you have a lot of people in their contracts you can't discuss your salary with people in your workplace. But as a general thing of talking about money and budgeting and how do we do things and how do we talk about it, that's really what you can DM us about, and we're happy to chat to you about.
Because one thing you have to get sorted owning your own business, it's your money mindset, money management. Like it's big because it's risky, right? As a business owner, you're taking risks. And so for me, the money mindset work I've had to do and continue to do is massive. And I think that I wish I had done it earlier, really.
I think we could have saved ourselves a lot of heartache in our businesses if we had actually realized that we needed to do education about money and to learn about it. I think you sort of just expect, I should know how to do this and I should know what to do, personally and professionally. But as a business owner, it sort of just blends into one, because the way that you manage your personal finances is sort of then how you start to manage your business, and that there's a certain way to do both, isn't there? So we I guess have had a very up and down experience with managing money and contracts, which is the other part of this episode. And we've sort of now, after both of us having 10 years, we've sort of been through very up and down periods, and we've kind of come full circle and done a lot of education and obviously learnt about ourselves. And so that's what we want to talk about today, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sharing what we have learned and what we're learning and empowering the people that are following in our footsteps, I think is really important, because it's tricky. I think that, contracts and money are things that can keep you up at night, whether you're a business owner or going and you're signing a contract. It's a legal document. I think, when I look back to starting out, I don't think I even really read the contracts, which is silly, really. Yeah. So I think it's something that we need to get more comfortable with talking about. So we're starting.
Yeah. So first of all, every business is different, right? Every industry is different. And, whether you're in a corporate setting, whether you're a healthcare professional, like most of us are here, whether you're working in a private practice, whether you're working in a community sector, whether you're working in a school sector, what the chain of leadership is above you, every workplace is different. However, the first place to start, no matter what workplace you're in, is to have a conversation with your employer or the person that is in charge of, I guess, the cash or the finances in the business, or the person that determines your pay or is determining the financial element of the contract. So at Speak About, my husband Michael is our CFO. I will openly admit that is not my talent. That is not my giftings to do numbers. and to do money. I have really tried hard, but that was always an area of the business that I always really struggle with. I did my best, but when Michael came on board and started to do it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what it looks like for someone who's really natural with money and numbers to do this really easy. I feel like I just struggled through it, and I did educate myself, but he is our CFO in the business, and he's very, very, very good with numbers and very, very good with budgets. And so in our business, the conversation would be with him. And then I bring in the personal human elements / speechy side and understanding of the industry into the conversation. So it would be either with him or with both of us. And then we also then tend to bring in the clinical manager of the person. If it's, well, money is always relating to, in a workplace, performance and KPIs, or key performance activities or key performance indicators. So it's important to know who to talk to, but in a business, it would be the financial person first, then the clinical manager or whoever that is that's in charge of the business. What about you, Lizzie? Who would someone talk to in your industry or your business?
Me.
Yeah.
They talk to me.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah. So, and just listening to you talking about your wonderful CFO, I was like, oh, don't be jealous. Don't be jealous.
Shout out
Goals. Mackie. So yeah, no, that makes me really jealous. But I love the numbers. I love crunching the numbers. I love forecasting.
You are very good at it. I'm not good at it.
I
You're
just think
better than me.
Yeah, I think that though, I think it can be tricky because when you're forecasting, managing, budgeting, it can come across as, coming from a place of lack or not, like, I don't know, like sometimes I fear that I can be labeled as greedy because, I'm budgeting, and I think that there is not an understanding of business budgets. And I think that's can be really, really misunderstood how much it costs to run a business. So I find it quite a tricky thing to do from a management perspective. So I listen to that and I'm like, oh, geez, it'd be nice to have someone doing that so that I can then like focus on that people.
You will one day. You will one day.
I will.
We all have business goals. We all have goals, don't we? But maybe let's just open up the lid of what you just said. So you just shared, sometimes you can feel it can be really difficult for a business owner because you feel guilty because people think you're greedy. So I've gone through that emotion and that mindset as well. Everyone has.
Is that what you struggled with? You said you struggled. Yeah.
I mean, for a very long time though, I actually didn't draw a salary or a very high salary from Speak About for the first 4 to 5 years. And I just have finished reflecting on that with my team because I made a lot of financial sacrifice because I had to put everything back in to the business to grow it in order to pay people wages. So I feel like I actually had a little bit of a different mindset at the start where I was too scared actually to take any money for myself because for me, it was always like the employees come first, the people that I'm serving come first, because that is the security in that. And then when my financial advisor, like after 5 years of having the business, said to me, like, if you want to achieve some personal goals, you need to start taking money out for yourself. I actually found that really, really nerve-wracking and really hard. And then those feelings did also assault me of feeling guilty. But the things that I would like to sort of just shed some light on is what are the expenses that we have as a business owner. So obviously this is private practice, but this would also be if you're in a public health setting as well. Like there are definitely overheads that we have in a workplace.
Absolutely.
And so what are your overheads, Lizzie?
Well, where do I start? But I just wanted to come back to what you're saying. And that I think when you're managing the money as the business owner, that is how you feel, because I still feel like that. And which is why I want to have someone come in and manage it for me, because it's just very hard not to feel like that. And I think, I pay myself a wage that is smaller than most people in my team. So that is just something I think that, is fairly common within business owners. I went to
people don't realize that. Employees don't realize that. Now you know.
Yeah. So that is what happens, because when you have employees, you legally have to pay them on the day that you say you're going to pay them. So if you have yourself being paid, like if you set yourself up and you're having to pay yourself that amount, you have to pay yourself. You can't choose. There's no choice in it. If you set yourself to pay that amount, that's what you have to pay. And when you're aware of all the other things going out, that can be really stressful. And this is where you lose sleep at night. And we know how important sleep is for everything. So overheads, things like obviously rent, insurance is massive. Obviously admin support, like those admin team members, anything that's not bringing in money, people in the business that aren't seeing clients are, what do you call it?
What people are non-client, non-income generating roles.
Yes. Correct. So any of those people, they're all an additional expense. So there's a lot of like travel. We've got a couple of cars in our Kids Heart Pilates business, all the insurances for the cars, all the fuel for the cars, like it all adds up. And every time, because I'm very budgeted, I do profit first, which is a whole nother episode, but it basically, you've got lots of different bank accounts and you separate it so that you're putting your expenses aside and you live to a budget, and you put your a tax aside, you put your profit aside. So it's all in different bank accounts, and basically it makes you like preventatively budget your business, which has been amazing for budgeting. However, you're constantly like, money comes in, money goes out, money comes in, money goes out, because there are so many expenses.
Yes. And that's a book that we can recommend, Profit First.
Yep.
By, how do you say the last name? Oh, his name's Mike
Michalowicz.
So we'd recommend that. That's only
and
for
Clockwork. He's got Clockwork as well, which is another amazing book.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 2 resources we'd recommend if you're wanting to learn budgets. Is that just for businesses though? Because I feel like it is. Or is it related?
Well, I actually got Clockwork is more about systems and identifying your queen bee role, which I think we're talking about in another episode. But my team loved that one. Profit First. I've actually put Profit First into my personal finances as well. And I think if you are working for yourself as a sole trader or an independent or a contractor, it could also be really helpful as well, because it's about putting money aside so that you're not spending everything that is coming in, and not spending like you put GST.
If you're more a business owner, there are other resources we have, which we'll recommend at the end of the episode if you're not a business owner. But yes, so there are so many overheads in business. Like our biggest expenses are wages and super, because we have employees. If you're in a workplace that you've got contractors, you don't pay the super. Like we have the super as employees. I can comment on that. So
yeah,
wages, super. Obviously, like all of our resources, we have PD. We actually have to factor into our budget sick leave and annual leave, and then compulsory shutdowns, which that is a huge amount of money every year. And then we have, like team events, team lunches, that kind of thing. All of those additional, like even all the stationery, the rent, the water, the electricity, the heating, all of that goes in as well. And so I guess it's just an ongoing thing that you are managing in your workplace. And if you're an employee, I think the key thing is to look for a workplace that is really stable and has a person that's allocated to not a person that's allocated to finances, but the person in the business who is in charge of the money is centered about money. Like Lizzie said, she's read Profit First and educated herself. Like Mackie has done a lot of different courses and things and is very centered on money. I think it would be really stressful in a workplace if you were a new graduate or, even a couple of years out, and you're like wondering, oh, is this business going well? Like, am I going to be able to ask for a pay rise? Like that's feelings you never want to be unsure about. And you want to be really sure in a workplace that the financial operations of that business are solid. You don't want to then go and then ask for a resource and the boss turn around and say, we can't afford that, when you feel like you're working really hard. And I'm just speaking from experience in those situations. And also like just even running Speak About in the early days, it was very difficult for me to even understand myself that. So I have learnt through that process. But yeah, as an employee, you want to be making sure that you're in a workplace that is financially stable and financially safe. The last thing we want is to go into work or not even go into work and say the business has closed down or gone into liquidation because of poor management of finances.
And it's, I can't tell you how many businesses I'm hearing at the moment. It is just scary, right?
Mhm.
And I think in like aligned to what you're saying, it's also really important to understand this, like what stage your business is in. Like we've talked about, my business has been in a huge growth stage the last few months, which definitely puts not strain, but it puts, for lack of a better word, a little bit of strain on the finances. I've really had to work on, because I'm a bit of a verbal digester. Like I digest how I'm feeling based on through speaking, and that's how I vox you, Em, and I like download what I'm going through, and I have to be really careful with that with my team, because I can kind of go through the experience and talk about it. However, as the team grows, that's something that I have to work on and manage myself. And I always feel like, and this is why we're doing this episode, is just having a bit of awareness of the what it takes to be running a business is important, I think, for employees or anyone that's involved in the business. So when you're asking for resources, or you're asking for PD, or you're asking for a pay rise, there's ways in which to do it that are going to elicit a more positive response than.
Let's talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
talk about how we do that. The other big expense is tax, which I forgot, which
Huge.
again, Mackie would be like, how could you forget tax?
Because you're not managing the money.
I know, it's tax.
I didn't even say wages.
Tax is tax is huge. Tax is huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's talk about it. So how do you sort of I guess ask for a pay rise, or even get to that point? Like what should we be thinking about? I guess we have both had to ask for pay rises, like in our jobs as employees, and I've had to personally I've had to advocate for my wage when I was in a public setting. And so and then we've also been on the other end where we're employers. And I feel like personally, I've been through many different phases of being that employer. Like I feel like at the start I was a clueless employer. Then as I sort of went through, I was a little bit more like I've cottoned on, but felt like I was walking around in the dark a little bit, until now. As fast forward, I feel like an empowered employer. So we have our own learning journey as well, being employers, and how we would have responded over the years is different to what we do now. But essentially, bring it all together, we need to look at what we need to identify expectations. So as an employee,
align expectations.
Align our expectations. So between employee and workplace, so employer or whoever that is, we need to have benchmarks and make sure benchmarks are clear for us. And we also need to know what the opportunities are down the track for us if we want to have career progression and we want to increase our salary. And so we did talk about career progression in our first season. If you want to listen to that, we talk about that in personal and professional development. But there are different opportunities in different workplaces. And the main thing is looking at what you would like to do with your career, and are there opportunities to improve and move forward in the workplace, which would then, as you bring more value to the workplace, that would then be able, equal increased salary. And what are the expectations for then, and what are the expectations for now? So when you're looking at your career and money, you're looking at the present, and you're looking at also the future as well. And the future can be years, or it could be months. It doesn't really matter. But that's a good place to start, I think. Do you think, Lizzie?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say, regardless of what it is, whether it's a resource, PD, or a pay rise, I like to try and get people to flip the perspective, and instead of going, I want 10 grand more a year, or I want this resource, come back or come to me with a solution, or perhaps almost assume the role. This is like key manifestation. I'm all about manifesting, but almost like assume some of the tasks and start showing your capabilities through, doing what is necessary for said pay rise resource PD. So for example, for a PD, it might be a little bit different, but it might be that you want to do a PD course, and we've talked about this, but really outlining what the PD course is, what it's going to bring to the business, what it's bringing to you as a practitioner, how you can share that with other team members, and what impact that's going to have on the business, the time and then the investment, but maybe outlining the benefits and the impact of what that's going to bring first and foremost, I think is a really good way to do it. And then something for a pay rise, like going above and beyond and doing, putting your hand up for whatever there is that needs to be done, showing that, you're a team player and that you're willing to go the extra mile, and then coming and saying, oh, look, over the last 6 months, I've done, this and this and this. I've implemented this program, and I've outreached to these key partners, and I've got X, Y, and Z up and running. You're in a much better position to negotiate a pay rise or negotiate your contract terms if you are going above and beyond than if you're going, hey, I want to do this, but I need to get paid first, for example.
Yeah, I think that's a really key point, is that if you're wanting that pay rise, which is something above, like, as health professionals, I think it would be the same with EP, but speech is, every year we go onto a different level just based on experience. So we get that normal pay rise. But if you're wanting anything above and beyond, yes, do something first and come with results to your meeting. That would be very favorable. And if you can actually say, look, I have done this, personally, we're like, great, we have no problem giving you a pay rise. Whereas it's very hard if you're saying, oh, I will do this and I will do that, because it's like, well, you're actually not doing it now. So how do we give you the pay rise? Like it's asking us to have a bit of blind trust in you when you haven't shown your ability. So it's having that fine balance, but it's definitely a really good point, because I think that's a mindset shift as well for a lot of people. Thinking, oh, I'll do this only when I get the money. But when it comes back to our really core values and our purpose and our question, it's how can we serve? And both you and I in our businesses, if we actually had thought like that, we wouldn't have success in businesses to what we have today, because we wouldn't have been able to step out, because we would have been held back by money. But we always asked and led with the question, how do I serve? I'm going to do this. And then the money follows the service. So, and that's like a basic principle, which you and I have learned, because if we didn't do that, like, we wouldn't have stepped into a lot of opportunities. And that is actually just a basic principle. If you listen to the founder of Airbnb, the founder of Nike, the founder of all these big companies, they had to actually put in the hard yards before, and like serve before they got the money. But it was, it's just that change in mindset, right? How can we serve
Absolutely
first to show results, to bring results? And so I think, like, obviously that's mindset, right? That's mindset, flipping, like you said, flipping the way that we're looking at it. And then being clear on then what you actually want to do to improve, like you're saying with the PD. With that PD, then what's the impact that you can then bring to the business from that PD? So we're doing PD you're doing PD for yourself, but then what is the communal impact? So again, it's thinking, how can I serve? Not just how am I serving myself? Because that is a big thing. Coming from uni these days, we're very much focused on ourselves, because it's getting the grade for yourself, and that's the way that uni is. But when you come into a team in a workplace, if you're charging ahead for yourself, that's actually not helping your workplace. And it's actually not going to help you get a pay rise because it's collective money in the business. If we just viewed it as for us ourselves, the business wouldn't be achieving. So it's a collective effort. And that sometimes is a bit of a mindset as well, reframing it to work as a team, that we actually get better results when we work together and put our talents together, rather than just working individually.
Yeah, absolutely. And a good way to do it would maybe to do the PD and bring PD, because I would love, like, I'm never going to say to a team member that brings a PD to me, like, oh my God, get out of here. I want to understand it, but I think that's so proactive coming with a PD. Like, I think that would be a really great first step. Like, I'm really interested in this. I want to do this PD. This is what I think it's going to bring to the team. I think this is what it's going to bring to the community. And then go and do that and bring it to the team, bring it to the community, and then come back and go, hey, I've brought this to the I've brought this to the team. I've brought this to the community. I've implemented A, B, and C, and D. Is there any way that there's room for the budget to, increase? Do you know what I mean? I feel like that would be a really nice flow, from one.
And you definitely be open as a business owner to that and be like, yeah, that's totally justified. Like, thank you for bringing that to my attention if it wasn't already there.
And I think another really important point is understanding, you mentioned benchmarks before, understanding utilization and benchmarks, billable hours and non-billable hours in your schedule. Like, schedules are really important to understand. And I think that a benchmark's a benchmark. It's not, that's not really going above and beyond, is it? It's like,
no,
that's
just
what
doing
it
what's
takes
on your contract. Yeah.
That's what it takes really for your position to be viable.
Yeah.
And I think if it's tricky, isn't it? Because we don't want to be pro like burnout and pushing yourself, but it's about finding the balance in that serving. And I really think that a key component of burnout is that being aligned and doing things in your genius mode, and and
like that would prevent burnout. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that because I feel like with the new kind of cohort of health professionals coming through, there's an anxiety around burnout. There's a big piece around boundaries and keeping boundaries, and maybe a lack of awareness on that benchmark and utilization. But we're, from a business perspective, we're talking about this is what you need to be doing for your position to be viable, and for us to be operating as a business to cover all those costs that are associated with running a business, and for us to be in operation. So that's the benchmark. My expectation, if you're coming and wanting to progress up into leadership positions, is to demonstrate that mindset and that work ethic of going above and beyond, and doing that for a period of time and demonstrating over a period of time that is what your values are and what you're capable of and what you want to do, and that is going to obviously attract a higher pay grade, I guess.
And if you're then, so you can, showing that initiative, but then actually knowing what amount you want or what figure you want. I like, obviously in the health professional. So if you're in like in New South Wales, if you're in a public service, the public sector, is governed by an award. So the New South Wales Health Award. If you're, I think in a school setting, it would be similar. If you're in private practice, we are governed by the Fair Work Ombudsman Award. However, that is so low, that award. So a lot of private practices have now, they sort of use for reference the New South Wales Public Award, which is a lot higher. Rather than the Fair Work Ombudsman. So there's two types of awards that you can look into to educate yourself. So we sort of start there, but then also it's good to look at what your industry is doing. However, we have to have discernment when we're looking at what our industry is doing and understanding. So obviously we can go on to search engines and job sites like Seek or Indeed. Even, I don't know what EPs have, but Speech Pathology Australia, they have a job section on their website. However, we have, so when I'm saying we have to be discerning, we have to realize that search engines on like Seek and things, they don't have to align with awards, and jobs that are going on there, they're not policed by any governing body. And we also need to look at the salaries that people are putting on their jobs. Does that include super or not in the pay in that? So, because often people will say, oh, a job is 100K, that includes super. So when you take off super, it's actually 85K. Okay, so we're looking at that, looking at the figures. We're then looking at what expectations come with every company. There's always asterisks and there's always clauses. And so often in our experience, mine, Liz's experiences, high salaries come with high expectations. And so if you're getting paid a very high salary, you need to have a great capacity to be able to generate that income times 2 to 3. I'd say times 3 or more for the company, times 3 or 4. Yeah. Two is not. But so if companies are asking, I'm just going to use 100 grand because that's an even figure. If companies are asking you, is it going to pay you 100 grand, whatever that's including super or not, they are wanting you to generate at least 300 to 400,000 for them a year. And often that is a very high set of billables, and they might not provide you with admin support, or they might, like, it depends on the admin support, whether you can actually physically achieve that. Do you have a team around you? What's the setup of the location? That type of thing. So that's what I'm saying. Be discerning when you look at search engines. Go onto the company's website and look at their positions. A lot of the times they'll say it's a commission-based, thing or whatnot. Like
that's no super, no holidays, no sick.
Yeah. So it's just, or you might not get paid when you're sick. So it's very important just to make sure you do your research, look at the company's websites, make sure that you are thinking about your life as well and not just money, and make sure you're thinking about your responsibilities and your capacity, because as a new graduate, your capacity is smaller. As you grow and develop clinical skills, your capacity expands, as it should be expanding, what you can take on responsibilities, and making sure that the money is aligned with the support and the mentoring you want to receive. Because mentoring, well, we can even discuss that. Mentoring in a business, or what do we call it? Mentoring, professional development you get in-house in the business, that easily could be worth 100 grand a year.
Clinical supervision. Yeah.
Yes. With the time and the money that goes into that. So again, it's looking at, well, what's the value you're getting in the role, and making sure it aligns with all of that, with all the things I've said.
Absolutely. And I think I remember when I started working as an independent, and I, like, in a week doubled my wage. But I was working so hard, and I was like, I get it. If I want to earn 100 grand, then I have to work really hard. Like, this is, and then I just started looking around, and, I was pretty young at the time. I started looking around at all, people in different industries and what they were doing. Now, I didn't know how much people were earning. I just knew, that they might have been earning more than what I was earning, or, just guesstimating. But the amount, people who get paid a lot of money, the expectations are so high. So I think that's just something that I would really, really consider. And I think it's something that you learn along the way, is that, yes, you can get paid a lot of money, but the requirements to do that are significant. And so that's something to really consider, I think.
Well, it has to be, the requirements have to be significant, because the company can't just pull money out of thin air and pay you a really high salary for doing nothing.
And another really good thing to think about, if you've been offered a position, and this is, regardless of what structure the business is, like we've talked last season, I've got a different structure in my Northside business that I do to Kids Heart Pilates, and I've done different structures over the years. So regardless of what the contract agreement is, what are the value adds to put it in a different way, what are the value adds? For example, is there a clinical lead that is going to be supervising and mentoring you? Is there, we've mentioned super and holiday and sick, or is there, you get paid more because you're seeing certain clients because you're doing commission? Like, what are the really understanding the ins and outs and then the value of it? And it might be hard to align a value with something that you're getting, like a clinical lead, but maybe just considering that and maybe listing or just being aware of the other things that are going to be included. Like for, is there a full-time admin? What is the admin capacity and what is the admin allowance in your schedule? Because some clinics are not going to have admin support or full-time admin support, and some are. So that's something that is going to be a consideration in terms of how much your contract is worth, because that admin support, a full-time admin support, is expensive. So because you're not going to have to do the confirming of clients, the chasing of clients and so on, but that costs money. So it's about looking at maybe the value of what's involved in the contract as well, and not just looking at it a little bit more holistically, I think.
I think so, yeah. If you're not sure the value that an admin brings, go and get a job in your, like, while you're studying, go and get a job at a local clinic that you would like to work at and as an admin and learn, or go and ask to shadow an admin for a day. A lot of professionals come in and go, I want to shadow speechies or, EPs. Go and shadow an admin and realize the depth of work. That might actually help you discern what kind of job you want to take, because you can go, am I wanting to take on the admin, or am I wanting a job where the admin is totally delegated?
I think that is such an awesome, awesome point, because on top of what you're saying, you also get a really good understanding. Even if you go into a clinic that has admin, you get a really good understanding of what it actually takes to be in that admin position, where you are answering the call. You see what it takes to convert a client, or to chase a client when they're sick, or to get a payment if there's a late payment. Like, all of that, I think we really underestimate what
admin is chaos. People have to thrive in chaos.
Totally.
They have such a hard job, but they are amazing. If you find a good admin, they are just like amazing. They hold the company together.
And I think that it's a really hard, what I see time and time again is it's actually really hard to get both perspectives, until, like, we've both been admin in our own businesses. So we've got a better understanding of it. But I think from a clinical perspective, it's really hard to understand the difficulties of the admin position. And as an admin position, it's very hard to understand the difficulties from a clinical position. So if you can get that experience, and I think another point I want to make to what you said was, apply for admin positions in clinics. Both of us would welcome students that are wanting to work in our industries in admin positions, because we're developing a relationship with someone that's going to enter the industry. We've got someone that has already, emotionally bought into what we're doing, and they're willing to, do the hard yards to work their way up. I think that's such a good way to get into a clinic that you would like to work in, is ring them up and say, have you got any admin work? Can I do any admin assistant work for you? Because that is not only going to help you get that perspective, but it's also going to get you with a foot in the door. And I know as a business owner, I welcome that. And Em, I know you do that. So
yeah, we have students that are working with us. We've had that for a long time, like casuals and part-time admins. And they have really appreciated learning the admin side. It's actually helped them be better clinicians when they've come out, because it's one area of the workload that they actually know and they understand, and it helps them to organize themselves as well. So I definitely recommend that.
And you just become a better team player.
Yeah, absolutely. And the admin, having admin support, I think is critical. Not all jobs provide admin support, but that's my personal opinion. There is so much admin
Yeah,
in a speechy clinic or an EP clinic that I would really value a job with an admin. I'd be very hesitant to take a job, but again, that's my personal opinion.
I'm with you.
Um, so I guess like maybe, so we have touched on, I guess, the some of the things to think about when you're trying to pick a number for your salary. But the main thing is you need to do your research. You need to understand the KPIs and the expectations of the company, and then the value that you're bringing to the company. And I guess know that whatever salary you're requesting, you need to generate 3 to 4 times that. So can you physically do that? Is that within your capacity? Does that align with your personal goals in your life and what you're doing in your life? I think the hardest thing is just trying to balance, like if you've got personal goals, like you want to buy a house or you want to go on a holiday or you're saving for a wedding, it's them bringing that into alignment and balancing that with the salary that you're getting paid, and making sure that you're not allowing the personal element to then come and dictate what you're asking for in a salary, and neglecting the actual KPIs and the work side. But then you don't want to then go the other way where you're working so hard and you go up in your salary and you're earning really high salary and you've neglected your personal life.
Mm.
It's really just being able to find that balance and having open and honest conversations with your employer. So I guess we can go into some practicalities of considerations of what practically people can do when they're wanting to ask for a pay rise and what that looks like. But I think it's just remembering it's a balance, and don't go down one end and be like, okay, I want to buy a house, I need to go and ask for this salary, without then considering what you're doing at work, and then don't go the other way.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a few things actually already that are
Yeah.
really practical of what you should like. So the first point was, make sure you demonstrate before you ask. People, like employers or bosses, want to see outcomes, because then if you've got an outcome and results, a business owner is not going to argue with you and say, no, I'm not going to increase your salary because you've actually got the result there. So we talked about that. Thinking about what you can do to invest more in the business. We spoke sort of, that's along those lines.
Have the
Um,
conversation. That's what we're
the
saying. Have the
conversation. Yeah.
conversation. And you
Yeah.
know what? Another thing I just want to say with that is, and it's aligned to your serving first in a way, maybe not so much actually, but think about career progression, because that's naturally going to, attract a higher salary bracket. But if you focus on the career progression, this is what I did. I went in and I said, I really would like to be a supervisor. I would like to be a supervisor. And I was a new grad, and I was like, I want to be a supervisor in in the next kind of 3 years. What do I need to do to be considered for that? What should I be doing now to be considered for that? So, that's a conversation about money without talking about money as well, isn't it?
That's
Because
great. That's such a great question to ask.
yeah.
It's from a clinical career life point of view.
Yeah. And then you map it out. You sit down and you map it out. And if that's the business you want to progress with, then that's a great thing to do.
I think, yeah, that is service, but also it's being proactive, right? So you're not leaving things to the last minute. You're actually being really intentional with where you want to go and what you want to achieve, and then having that honest conversation. And I guess then from a business point of view, we're just talking about how we have budgets. The business can actually then budget in where you want to go and what you want to do, and like sort of make sure they're guiding you and you're working together to actually achieve that salary and achieve that progression, because they can factor those into the numbers and the budget. So like that's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
so good.
almost kind of, we said earlier to kind of, go above and beyond and come to us with solutions. But it's almost going, hey, I want to go above and beyond. What does that look like from a business perspective? What I would like to be this, that, and the other. What is your input? So you're aligning expectations, you're working together. And I think that is only going to have better outcomes. That's going to, bring some certainty into that progression.
And that's what we're after, isn't it? We're security and certainty in our careers, which then filters into our personal lives.
Yeah. Totally. And as business owners, that's what we want, don't we? We're not.
I was going to say, don't do business if you want certainty, but yes.
Yeah, no, don't do
The certainty in business is that things are always changing.
Yeah, you're growing all the
And
time.
you're growing, yes. But that's exactly right. But I think the other thing, if we're talking about that, the mindset, like, of being proactive, I think the other big thing is, this is something that we've had to learn ourselves, is sometimes we tend to think, okay, I need a higher salary to achieve this in my personal life. And we've gone that way, whereas we actually have learned, you and I have learned, and we've learned in business, is to actually look at the money habits and the spending habits that we have right now. Because what if you don't actually look at your habits and how you're spending your money and your budgets right now, that will not change when you have more money, and you'll still be in the same situation that you are in right now, but even though you have more salary. And the best advice someone in business first gave me when I opened my business was, as the business revenue increases, don't let your expenses get out of control, but actually develop good money habits at the start.
Profit first.
Which is profit first. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there are lots of people that can teach about this. Like Mel Brown is a really good one. The Barefoot Investor is a really good one. There's another group I came across, Lorraine Murphy, as well. There's another group, my friend Hannah, she's got a group called Bent Not Broke. And so I think that's a really important mindset to get around. You need to develop your budgets and your habits so that when you actually do get the pay rise, you do have more money at the end of the day in your pocket, and you're not, your habits are not then dictating and you're feeling at a loss.
And I feel like if you think that your habits are not as good as they could be, or your mindset is not as good as it could be, then starting to look at that, because I think that will only, set you up on the right path. Denise Duffield Thomas is a really good one from a mindset perspective. And I think, that's definitely really helped me. And I think when we have got more awareness of our money habits, it's like anything. The more aware you are, the better you are then to grow and step forward. And because as you grow, with finances as well, it's uncomfortable. It's probably even more uncomfortable because it's risky. Like, this is the stuff that keeps you up at night. So it's like getting your mortgage. It's the same thing, in business. Like, you're taking these bigger risks. You've got to back yourself. You've got to believe that you're worth it. You've got to have a strong money mindset. That's something that I have to work on all the time, like all the time. And I've just done just some mindset stuff recently, and just realized that, as part of a value add that I was doing, I was actually selling my time with a $0 figure on it because it was a value add. And what I realized that it was actually what was actually lacking was time for me. And what I thought that money was going to get me was time. And I'm like, wait a second. If I wasn't doing this as a value add to get money that I thought would give me time, I could have the time to do something that I really wanted to work on, that in turn, when you're working in your genius mode and you're doing something that you really love doing, will end up bringing more money in, if that makes sense. So it's just, and that's something that's just landed with me in the last kind of couple of months. And I've seen it. I see it in action. I think when you're aware of it, you see it all play out. So I think being aware of your money habits and your money mindset, and that's what those resources will help you do.
That's so good. It's sometimes just stopping and thinking, isn't it, of what you really want, what you're trying to do. The biggest thing that I've learned with money mindset, well, not the biggest thing I've learned, but one of the most recent things I've learned is that if it's silly to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result.
Mm.
If you want a different result, then you need to do something different. And that's what you're talking about, Lizzie. Sometimes it takes you to do some education, take a risk, step out of your comfort zone, maybe do something that is different to what hasn't been done before in your circles or your environment. And that's okay. And I think at the end of the day, we have to realize money is money. If you have to spend money to make money, as let's say in business, but you also have to lose money sometimes. And that can be a mistake, but then you learn from that. And so money is not the be all and end all. Like, even though this episode is about money and asking for a pay rise and all that kind of thing, money is not the be all and end all. If you're able to take lessons from things and things aren't failures. But sometimes you are going to make mistakes and lose money, and that's okay. That's okay. You've just got to roll with it, be flexible and learn from it. And it is what it is, right?
Money is not infinite.
No, it's not the end goal either. The end goal, so money is just a tool to get you to where you need to go. So whether that's, and then I guess even the item is not even the end goal. So say money then buys you a house. The house is not the end goal. What the end goal is, the security and safety that you can go somewhere safe every night. So it's remembering that and having those perspectives, or providing that space for your family to have connection. That is the end goal. So it's remembering to put that money into perspective and alignment like that, and not go just very tunnel vision on money, which it is really hard to do and really easy to say when you're younger and when you're trying to focus on, those financial goals. But at the end of the day, this is what a lot of older people say. They say, I wish I actually had more time with my family. I wish I had more time for my health. It's not, I wish I had more money. People don't ever say that. So, it's just remembering all of that and putting it into perspective, I think, as well, which is your mindset, really, your mindset and your personal development, which is what we all always speak about. So if you want to look into those resources for yourself, I think that would be a really good place to start. If you want to do some research for yourself about salaries, looking at the awards is a great place to start, and then doing research on companies and and then the next place is having an open, honest conversation with your employer. Don't leave things to the last minute. If you know that your 12-month anniversary is coming up, do not leave it to the day before your anniversary, because like we said, businesses have budgets. Take time before to have dialogue and discuss and think about what you want, and try and work together really collaboratively. So we will pop the resources below in the show notes. And if, like we said at the start, if you have any questions, general questions, send us a DM on our Instagram, the Move Talk Thrive. It's actually the Move Talk Thrive.
Yeah.
On Instagram. Make sure you follow us so you're not missing out on episodes. And we're more than happy to have a chat with you. So enjoy, have a lovely week this week, and we will be talking to you next week.